Welcome, fellow beekeepers, to what was a live stream but is now a recording. Lucky for you, the technical crew has made a recording of our live stream. If you would like to be on the next live stream, just check out the website and make sure you don't miss it, because it's good fun to have you here to ask the questions and me to figure out what the answers are.
Why did the DPI not stop all the hives from moving? Whew. Well, there's a complicated question, isn't it? The theory was that the hives that got moved were in a non-infected area, but then they found out it was infected after the 20 semi-trailer loads got moved. I think that's the story, but I don't know.
C. Jones is saying that they're going to allow movement in the purple areas.
Yes, yeah, that's what well, that's the bit of the excitement at the moment, because the boys that are in the almond orchards in the purple area are allowed to move. But then some of the other beekeepers that didn't go to the almonds that are in purple areas in different places aren't allowed to move. So there's rather excitement in the camp, what I can hear of it. Well, from what I can ascertain from the research that I've done so far is you say you have a drop of bees, whatever the bees that are in your bee yard within a certain area. If you find a mite or find the mites in a hive, you're more than likely going to have to monitor closely the ones that are next to it, because the theory goes that if you find some mites in one hive, they're probably in most of the hives that are in that site. Yes, they can move quite easily between your hives, because obviously when you have bee drift, if they're on one of your workers or a drone, they get from one hive to the other. And the problem that what I've read is you get one mite on a bee that gets into your box, and then that girl goes and lays an egg, and then the egg hatches out and becomes a boy, and then the boy and the girl get together and start breeding. And so ultimately it's a pretty robust little bug. I mean, if it can do that, it would, man, you start thinking you've got to kill every single one of them otherwise, and which is what seems to be the case. Most of the people that I've talked to in the US, they're basically not, they're just controlling the little beast. You're never going to get rid of it.
So Neil's asked, have you selected which treatment to use?
I think I've got some of the acid, the vapor acid, and then I'm also thinking I'm going to get some of the pest strips. Like when I get to that point, that's, I think, the two most effective ways to look at it. I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to add a fair few extra layers of complexity to the whole project. Is the treatment available in Oz yet? Well, they are importing some of the strips from New Zealand at the minute, as far as I know, but I've got some of the azelaic acid, which is a terrible pronunciation, but I haven't got any of the pest strips yet. So I'm working on that. That's my next project.
Do you know if the approvals happen for mite treatment, or it's in process?
Well, I think that is the exciting thing that's got some of the, I don't know, I guess the broader community of beekeepers a bit excited, as in, well, okay, let's try for eradication, but let's also get some of the chemicals approved. As far as I know, the DPI is supplying strips to beekeepers that are in the purple zone. And so I would imagine the acid is there as well and all the rest of it. But this is where it gets weird, whether it's actually approved or whether it's just got the little, like the extenuating circumstances approvement.
I use screen bottom boards with pull out plastic boards. My mite drops after an oxalic acid vapor treatment, and that gives you a great indication of the mite issue and doesn't kill any of the bees. Is that one of the things that hasn't been approved here yet, Dad?
Well, I don't know. I've got some. Not sure. I don't think anything's actually been approved to treat yet. But yes, Keith, that's a good thing. I was looking at the whole screen bottom board situation, and obviously you'd have to put the you don't need a sticky pad, so it's really not necessarily about the bees grooming the mites off. You're actually treating and then counting the dead ones. As far as I know, at the minute, it's not technically done, but if you haven't found the mites, well, you don't need the strip. So I would imagine if you now this is where it's going to get really complicated on this middle bit. If you happen to want to get the strips, and to do that, you have to find the mite, then you have to report the fact that you've got a mite, and then you're in the red zone, so then you're on fire. So I don't know whichever way that works. It's good. I don't know how they're going to manage it.
Simon's got a good point. Obviously, I'm assuming some of the treatment may taint the honey, so you've got to be mindful of that when we get into it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. You have to take the honey supers off to treat, depending on what you're using. And I'm sure that'll all be in the instructions.
That's a good question from Douglas. Do you have any clue as to the cost of the treat per hive?
What I've heard, it's somewhere between $50 and $150, depending on, I suppose, whether you're paying wages or whether you do it yourself, I guess, and how long. Yeah. I mean, also to take into that account, you've also got to be paying the management to find out whether you need to treat for the mites.
Abaxgate wants to know, what's your plan for the next 3 to 6 months to combat or prepare for the mites?
Well, at this moment, Mr. Outback, I am just getting as much information and research involved in doing this sort of thing, talking to people and letting everybody have a chat. I'm hoping to keep 100 strong colonies and see where I end up at the end. Yeah, well, because before this happened, I was sort of gearing up to get a bit more enthusiastic. So I think being that there's that much going on and information that needs to be shared, perhaps I'm going to be a conduit of information rather than a bigger beekeeper. So, yes, I'm probably going to reduce the amount of hives I have in the short term.
Harry is wondering.
Yeah, Harry, I would be fairly confident that if my research about wherever the mite has no reason not to turn up in the Riverland. I mean, I think it's going to be everywhere soon enough. But how long it takes to get everywhere is anybody's guess.
Sorry, Simon's asked, have you seen the shaker method using icing sugar? It doesn't kill the bees you're testing. Yep.
Yeah. I do that as well. That's pretty straightforward. I mean, I think the argument for the sugar shake, the reason that the ag department or the DPIs or whoever we're at, the reason they're sort of advocating for alcohol wash at the minute is because it's slightly more effective than the sugar shake. But I was listening to a guy who was, where was he from? I think he was from South Africa, and he was managing a big thing, and he said first of all, they used to do alcohol washes, and then they just got sick of 20-litre buckets full of dead bees getting carted away. So
Neil made a point about alcohol wash is better, but costs you 300 bees. I guess it's a balance between how effectiveness and how much it affects the hive, I guess. Do you think that you'd focus the alcohol wash onto the stronger hives to knowing that you'll lose 300 bees and then use the sugar shake on a weaker hives? Or because obviously if you've got a weak hive, the more you eradicate, the more you knock out the bees that you have in that hive.
Yeah. Well, probably what I'm probably thinking, I will probably I'm thinking I'll probably monitor roughly with a sugar shake, and if I find any mites, then I'll use the alcohol wash to be more confident about what levels I've got when I'm treating. That's sort of what I'm thinking at this point, but I haven't done it yet. Has anybody with the mites just thrown the sugar on top of the dolly hive and let the girls crawl through it? Since it works as a sugar shake, I was having a mad thought. You just lay a bag of icing sugar on the top of your hive and let them all run through it. I can't imagine that would work. Otherwise, I would have read about someone doing it.
So that's now there's a bit of an answer to your question about dumping sugar on top of the hive, Dad.
Well, there you go. Yeah, well, I thought they would.
It's the slackest version of anything you'd figure out.
Yep, there you go. Maybe it'll be the thing. We'll chuck a bag of icing sugar in there and let them crawl through it.
C. Jones is wondering how down south, in the cold south parts of Australia, they're going to be able to do their monthly checks in winter. It's going to be really difficult. That's a really good point.
Yep, and that's the time when you really want to find out, because that's when your hive's getting all sorts of trouble in the winter, when their numbers are down and the mites are coming. Your bee numbers are going down and the mite numbers are going up. And so, yes. I mean, it's messy enough now to try and find a nice day in the middle of winter. And the ladies are not over impressed when you go in there and it's cold and miserable.
that video that we did when we moved the bees for pollination, you had a similar result as Jeff, where we don't have a brood break necessarily in South Australia where we are.
I did have a mad thought, Jeff. We've got a cold store department here in Loxton. I was thinking we could just roll the truck in there and fridge them up for a couple of weeks or a month until they go, woo, we're here. But I don't know what their cost structure of that would be. That would be pretty hectic. But just for the hell of it, I might put one in there just to see what happens.
Skeptic, good question. Where do you place the bee diseases you have to contend with on a tiered system?
Well, I'd say foul brood. This particular moment, foul brood's the worst one to find because that means you're basically got to burn the hive because there's no way to stop it. Then I guess you've got European foul brood, which is the next level. You can treat for that if you want to. I still burn them anyway because I don't know. I don't think the antibiotics is a good option. I think if you're going to get in trouble, then I would say the next pain in the bum for me is the moths that turn up if your hive is already weak, and then they just start munching at your hive from the outside in and make webs and muck, and the bees get stuck, and it gets worse and worse and worse. I don't have a lot of trouble with the hive beetle because they don't seem to breed too well in the hot dirt. And where that's going to end up with the mites being in the wash, I don't know. I think, personally, we all just are going to experience some pain, but I think we're all able to cope. I mean, like I said, the rest of the world is still beekeeping with mites and with all this other stuff. I know an old guy that mentored me when he first got started, when foul brood was basically still in, that was supposed control mode, and they came and they burned him out. Like he had, I don't know, whatever he said. What did he say? 300 hives or something. And then they found 2 that were infected with foul brood, and then they set fire to his whole apiary. So that was a bit grim. And so hopefully we can just move forward, because now if you find foul brood, you really just have to monitor quite strongly, and then you destroy the ones that are infected. So I would imagine this is what will happen with the mites, and it'll just be another thing on the list.
We'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys for joining us. Like I said, we're going to try and do at least every second Thursday, if not every Thursday. We're going to try and get somebody on here to interview, to have a chat with about Varroa Mite with Dad. If you guys have any suggestions about who we should reach out to or chat, or any way of contacting those people, let us know. Send us an email or a Facebook message. That would be awesome. And thank you guys for joining us and all your great questions. And
that's it. Keep our chins up or something, isn't it?
Exactly. So thanks, guys.
Keep our chins up and keep our smokers lit. See you guys.
And if I haven't actually repeated myself enough times, don't forget, if you're enjoying the show, click like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Heck, let's just grow beekeepers and the love of the whole exercise. Be there or be square.